Hi, this is Dr. Piatigorsky coming at you from San Francisco. I'm here with my daughter, Clara, a circus artist, and I am going to present to you a lesson on imagery and how imagery can be used for circus artists to enhance performance. So before we jump into this, Clara, please let everyone know exactly what you do at the circus.
So I'm in the San Francisco Youth Circus. I train 4 to 5 times a week, 3 hours every day, and then I climb the silks, I do Chinese acrobatics, and then we have a little bit of juggling in between.
And then what do you do after all that activity? You make a performance, right? Like a
yes,
circus.
We have a performance of the entire youth program at the very end of the year, and it's usually like 8 performances. So it's a pretty big deal.
Okay, so as you can see, Clara is an athlete, and circus artist involves a lot of athleticism, time management, and motivation, confidence, all the things that sports psychology likes to address. So today what we're going to talk about, Clara, is imagery and how imagery can be used to help you with your circus performance. Okay, so first of all, why do it? Successful athletes do it. There's been research that has shown that successful athletes, more often than not, the non-successful athletes use imagery in their practices. Even Michael Phelps, who's an Olympic swimmer, uses imagery. I actually, for this presentation, I looked up circus artists and quotes that had to do with imagery, and I couldn't find anything. So that makes me think that imagery might actually be especially useful for circus artists. I don't know how often it is used, but because there are no quotes, maybe it's a wide open idea, and this can really help you guys. Okay, so what is imagery? Well, first of all, imagery, by definition, is creating or recreating an experience in your mind. It's thinking about something in your head, right? It's a simulation. You're recalling a memory of stored experiences and shaping these experiences into meaningful images, right? So in many ways, it's using your mind and using your senses in your mind, right? And not only senses, also associated emotions. So in your head, you can imagine lots of things. You can imagine things that you see, smell, feel, right? Taste, touch, move, and also emotions associated with it. Now, what's different about imagery versus daydreaming is that it's purposeful, focused, and you're doing it for a reason. You're doing it for a goal. It's also time limited. There's an end point and a start point. And why that's significant is because I'm going to ask you to be doing imagery throughout your day, throughout your life, as a means to enhance performance. You need to practice imagery often and in lots of different settings in order for it to be effective. Okay, why use imagery? Well, Pavio in 1985 has this theory of different functions for imagery. And this is a little complicated, but really what we need to focus on are these 4 quadrants right here, 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 and here, okay? These are basically 4 or 5 different ways of looking at why people would use imagery. One is you can use imagery to imagine outcome goals, like winning a medal or doing a successful performance. And that can be used to enhance confidence, right? Another motivational function is you can use imagery to manage your arousal. You can use it to make you less anxious or more activated. You can also use imagery to increase your confidence just in general, much like reaching an outcome goal. You can also use imagery to just enhance confidence, generally speaking. Right? There's also some cognitive functions for imagery. You can use imagery to learn and practice skills, and you can use imagery to plan strategy. Okay? So as you can see, there's basically motivational and cognitive reasons to use imagery, and some of those targets, what you're trying to achieve, is either specific or general. Right? So what should you use imagery for? That's a complicated question, given that there's so many reasons to do it. Here I have worksheet 1, which is an assessment for goals for imagery. Why you would want to use imagery. So after this, when the presentation's done, I'll give this to you and we can work on it a little bit. But just basically on this worksheet, there's ways of kind of categorizing goals and what you want to achieve. And there's also the sports imagery ability questionnaire, which is a way to measure how well you can imagine certain situations. And based on both your desire and your ability to use imagery, and we can tailor imagery to work for you, so you can achieve the goals that you want, which again are in one of those quadrants. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Where and when to use imagery. The great thing about imagery is you can use it any place, anytime. Imagery is a mind tool. You can bring it with you anywhere. And that means you can use it anytime you're conscious. You can't use it when you're sleeping. But other than that, you can pretty much use it anytime. We recommend that you first practice with imagery. So you want to start in a quiet, relaxed place during a less stressful time of day. Imagery is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets, your imagery skills. So it's best to start with lighter weights or in easier settings, easier times, and with easier images, right? And then after practice, you can pretty much do it anywhere. And you want to do it in a very strategic manner. So you can use imagery for, in different settings, different times, different ways to achieve your goals. Okay, and some examples of using imagery, again, anywhere. In a dark, quiet room prior to bed, being relaxed. At home after waking up early to activate for practice. In a locker room prior to a competition to focus your attention. Or on the airplane, even traveling to circuses around the world, right? Okay. How to make imagery effectively. Or how to make so imagery is based on scripts. And the most effective way to make an imagery or to create imagery is to write out a script beforehand. And you can either have someone that read that to you or read it into a recorder and then listen to it. When you make those scripts, there's certain things that you want to try to do. And here's just briefly what you want to do. Some people call it the 5 W's. Most important thing, I think, is to define clearly the goal of imagery and so that you and others know exactly what you're trying to achieve. Depending on your goal, your images will be very, very different. You want your images to be vivid, in other words, highly detailed. You want them to be controllable. In other words, you want to be able to manipulate them in your head. You want to use stimulus cues. You want to use things that talk about the environment and that are acting on you. You also want to use response cues. You want to talk about the way your body and your mind and your behavior is reacting to what's going on. You want to focus on positive images. You want to use as many senses as possible, and you both want to talk about how you do things and also the outcome, okay?
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry.
Let's keep going. You getting it?
Yeah, I'm getting it.
All right. So another way of changing the images is to change them, or you can change images in lots of different ways. All right.
Okay.
So these are the different ways that you can change images. You can change the modality, which senses you use in your head. Mm-hmm. You can change perspective, whether or not you're looking from the inside, the outside, or both, right? Yeah. Change the angle, whether or not it's above or beyond. You can change the agency, whether or not it's directed by you or someone else, and deliberation, whether or not it's purposeful or spontaneous.
Okay.
All right? So, do you get a sense of what imagery is?
Yes.
What is it, in one word or not, or one sentence?
Imagery is trying to picture your goal and then to help you achieve it.
Well,
in performance, like performance-wise.
Okay, so that's one way of looking at it, is that imagery is a way to picture your goal. In other words, you want to define what you want to accomplish with imagery, right? And then you achieve it by using your mind and the senses in your mind, using images to meet that goal, right?
Yeah. That's,
okay. Yeah. And so what are two really important parts of an image? Two things that are essential for it to be effective. Vividness. And controllability.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So because you're just starting and you've never done this before, and later we can figure out exactly what your goals are for imagery and what you want to accomplish specifically. But because you're just starting, what I'd like to do is, with the rest of this time, is to practice and to use two different scripts here that focus on vividness, and if we have time, controllability. Okay? So what that means is I'd like you to just kind of sample and try out imagery and see how it works for you. And using the basic skills of imagery, in other words, the goal of this imagery is just to get acquainted with the skills of doing imagery. Okay?
Right.
All right. So the first one, it has to do with vividness.
Okay.
So I'm just going to read this to you. What I'd like you to do is sit down in a comfortable way. Right? Mm-hmm. Close your eyes. Okay. Take a deep breath. All right. Bring your attention to the present moment. All right. Choose a piece of equipment from your sport. Focus on this object. Try to imagine the fine details of the object. Notice colors and shapes. Turn it over in your hands and examine every part of the object. Feel its outline and texture. Sense its weight. Now imagine yourself performing with the object. First, focus on yourself very clearly performing this activity. Visualize yourself repeating the skill over and over. See yourself performing from behind your eyes. Then step outside of your body and see yourself performing as if you were watching yourself in a film. Now step back into your body and continue performing. Next, try to hear sounds that accompany this particular movement. Listen carefully to all the sounds that are being made as you perform your skill. Now put the sight and sound together. Try to get a clear picture of yourself performing the skill and also hear all the sounds. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a vivid? Was that vivid for you?
Yeah.
In what ways?
I definitely felt like I got a really clear sense of myself there and performing, and what I had to get done to make it better than it has been before.
Okay. And were you able to sense the environment around you in vivid detail?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Describe one thing that you sensed vividly.
Well, usually when I perform the lights, I feel that they're really hot. So I felt my hands clam up a bit, but I keep going and I make it work.
Okay.
And it still looks good.
Okay. All right. You ready to try one more?
Sure.
So this is controllability. All right. So remember, the two things that you're trying to achieve here is one is to create vividness, a vivid picture or a vivid image in your head using whatever senses you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other is whether or not you can control the behavior that's happening in your head. You want to be in control of yourself and in control of things. And that's useful, obviously, for skill building. Okay? So here's controllability one. So again, close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Bring your attention to the present moment. Now choose a sports skill that you have trouble performing. Begin practicing the skill over and over. See and feel yourself doing this from inside your body. If you make a mistake or perform the skill incorrectly, stop the image and repeat it. Recreate past experiences in which you have not performed the skill well. Take careful notice of what you are doing wrong. Now imagine yourself performing the skill correctly. Focus on how your body feels as you go through different positions in performing the skill correctly. How was that?
It was good.
Did you feel like you were in control?
Yeah.
Okay.
There have definitely been times when I've performed things incorrectly, so just imagining how to perform them better, correctly, is actually really helpful.
Okay. Now, in all of these images that we created, I'm back on the slide how to make imagery work effectively, right? The goal of the image, was that clear?
Yes.
We were trying to be vivid and controllable.
Yeah.
Okay? So here it is, vivid and controllable. Did we use stimulus cues? Did I talk about the environment and what that was like?
Yes.
Okay. Did we use response cues? Did we talk about how you responded to it?
Yes.
Okay. Was it a positive image?
Yeah.
Okay. How many senses did you use?
I would say I used like 3 of the 5 senses. Sight, hearing, or actually no, 4, because I can smell the rosin on my hands, so.
Okay, so 4.
Yeah.
And did we focus on performance and outcome? We actually didn't focus on outcome here. We focused more on performance.
Yes.
But again, that depends on your goals, right? So our goals was more of actually visualizing the performance in vivid and controllable ways. It was less about the outcome. All right? So are you interested in using imagery then in your circus training?
Yeah, I think that it would really help me calm down and focus on what I needed to do before performance.
Okay. All right, well thanks. That's it for today. Thank you, Clara, for participating. And that's it.